Let's work through Unit 11 real quick, talking about unit price. Let's start with our vocabulary. Unit price is the price of one unit of measurement. So like the price of a box of cereal per ounce, the price of gas per gallon. It's the price of one unit of measurement. The unit price formula is found, and we're going to have this written out in a formula in a second. You find it by taking the total cost divided by the units. It's price per unit, price divided by units. The word deal just means the goodbye, or it's a discounted price from a similar item. Gas mileage is the number of miles driven divided by the gallons that are burned. Basically, it's miles per 1 gallon. The odometer is the thing on the car that measures how far you have driven. Miles per gallon is the number of miles driven on a mile. Oh my goodness. A number of miles driven on a gallon of gas. Here's the unit price formula written out as like a mathematical formula. The unit price is the total price divided by the amount. Remember that a fraction simply means division. So it's price divided by amount. Let's work through the example that's in your worksheet packet, and it just tells us to calculate the unit price if 5 oranges are sold for $3. Remember, it is price per units, and per means division. So our price is $3, and we have a total of 5 units. So it's just 3 divided by 5, which gives us 60 cents. Actually, it gives us 0.6, which in money form is 60 cents. So each orange costs 60 cents. So this first chart for you to work through, it's just asking you if the unit price is more or less than $1. And just like usual, this first one is done for us. So it's $5.75 for 18 lemons. Remember, it is price over the total amount of units. So we'll do price over total. Price on this one is $5.75 divided by 18. And if I type that in my calculator, 5.75 divided by 18, I get 0.319. And that is obviously less than $1. So you're going to do that for all of these. You're going to take the price divided by the number of units. So the price divided by the number of units. And it's just asking you if every unit costs more or less than $1. Okay? Now, most grocery stores, when you go into the grocery store and begin looking for groceries, which is really where people start processing price per pound, knowing if someplace like Sam's or Costco is worth buying it in bulk, and basically if it is less per unit in a bulk, then it's going to end up in the long run cheaper. Now you may only be saving a few cents, but for instance, my house goes through 2 to 2.5 loaves of bread a week. So if I can save 10 cents per loaf, by itself, it's not that big of a deal. But in total, it's going to add up real quick. So at the grocery store, though, you normally have tags posted so that you can already sort of see it, and it's going to already usually have a unit price. This one is telling us the total price is $8.50. The total amount that it is 5 pounds, and they've already done the math for us. They've already done the $8.50 divided by 5. And that way you can figure out if it is a better deal. So if you had multiple brands to choose from, multiple sizes to choose from, not every time you go shopping is the off-brand going to be cheaper, and not every time are the larger things going to be a better buy. So really look at those unit prices, especially if you're trying to stay within a budget, okay? This next chart is really the same thing, except it's asking you to give us the unit price, and because we're working with money, we're going to round it to the nearest cent. So this first one, remember, it's price per total units. So on this first one, the price is 36. So if I put 36 divided by my units, which is 45, 36 divided by 45, I get 0.8 in cents. That is 80 cents. Okay. If you end up with a long string of decimals, like if I had done this and had 0.089, this would become 9 cents. It would round up to 0.09. So just round it because we're dealing with money to 2 decimal places. And complete your chart, price divided by total number of units. There's a lot of work, like exercises in this packet. So work through your first quick exercise. You have 2 brands you're going to look at. It's asking you to choose the better deal. The one with the lower unit price is going to be the better deal. Exercise has 6 different tags like you would see in a grocery store. And it's asking you, number 1, to calculate the unit price and to make sure the unit price on that tag is correct. It's not really a bad idea for you to be checking those unit prices because sometimes they may not have done the math correctly, or they may have rounded a little differently in order to benefit themselves sometimes. So just work through these, calculate the unit price. So on this first one, it's $19.80 price per unit. 19.8 divided by 20. That gives me 99 cents per pound. So is it correct? Yes. So function through these, price per unit. Just keep going and work through the exercise and brainstorm. Now this is really where you're going to use this in like real life, right? I'm going to have an option A and an option B. Maybe option A is at Walmart and option B is at Sam's because it's a larger amount. Buying something in bulk versus buying something in non-bulk. So you're going to compare these two. I would check the unit price on all of them just to make sure the tags are correct because like I said before, sometimes they're not. And then your answer is just going to be which one has the lower unit price. So if we work through A, the first one together, price per unit, so $4.99 divided by, now this is half a pound, so I'm going to do it as 0.5 because of my calculator. This is the correct price per pound. Now let's do the other one, 18.98 divided by 2 pounds. $9.49, this is correct. So the lower price is going to be the option B. Now, if this was the price of hamburger meat, I buy hamburger meat in bulk a lot. I buy the 5-pound one because it is a tremendous amount difference per pound. And when you're feeding 6 people at a time, you go through a lot of groceries. And I just break it up and I'll freeze it. I'll cut it into thirds and then I'll cook 1/3 of it and then freeze the other 2. And while it's only a few cents, I mean, that's not a whole lot of price per pound difference, but that's 50-ish cents. And if I buy this multiple times a week or a month, it's going to add up, especially if you're finding the lowest price over all of your groceries. So work through this whole thing and just figure out which one has the lowest price being the better deal for you. This next chart is the same way. Just work through the unit prices and figure out which one is the better deal. All right, here's your next one. Now, here's the thing with a problem like this. Annie can buy 1 avocado for $3 or 10 avocados for $20. So here's the thing. It might be that 10 avocados per avocado is cheaper, but the truth is, in my house, we would never eat 10 avocados. So even though sometimes things may be a better deal, they may not always be the wisest choice because if I only need 2 avocados, $6 is less than $20. Even if the $10 is more a better deal overall, I don't need that many avocados. So sometimes just because it's cheaper per unit does not mean it's the wisest choice. So this is just walking through what we just talked about. Just because something is cheaper for you may not be a better deal. So this first one, 5 apples for $7.49 equals, let's see, $7.49 divided by 5, almost $1.50 per apple. The other one is $12.49 divided by 10, $1.24. Now this particular person says I would buy the 10 apples. Their unit price is lower and I eat a lot of apples. If you never ate apples, then it wouldn't be a good deal for you. So work through those, figuring out which one has the better price and which would be a wiser choice for you personally. Another exercise and brainstorm. Now let's talk about miles per gallon, because gas and groceries are two of the largest expenses in our household. And they are the crucial things. You have to have both. And they constantly fluctuate. So this says you just bought a car that was advertised to get 36 miles per gallon. This car has a 9-gallon gas tank. So here's how you can sort of test that. Your odometer tells you how many miles you've driven. So fill your car up with gas, reset that odometer. When the gas tank is nearly empty, then you can then take that and do miles divided by gallon and estimate your miles per gallon. So this car specifically, a week later, it's almost empty. So they've almost used all 9 gallons of gas. You have 304 miles total. So miles divided by gallons gives him about 33.78. Now, this is pretty close, and you're not going to get it exactly because you're not all the way out of gas. Okay, so it's a good estimate for you to know how many miles per gallon you get. All right, so here is your exercise to do. Remember, it is miles per gallon, and per means to divide. Okay, so miles per gallon formula is the same thing as the unit price, except it uses total miles and gallons instead of total price. So miles per gallon equals miles divided by gallons. Now the reason we may want to look at this is because sometimes we may need to figure out how many gallons of gas we're going to need to purchase. So when we plan a road trip, I am going to estimate how much money I need to set aside for gas. So to do that, we're going to use this formula, but we're going to kind of work it backwards. So let's say that I know that my car gets 45 miles to the gallon. I know I'm going to have to drive 500 miles. So I'm told that my car gets 45 miles per gallon. I'm going to go 500 miles. How many gallons of gas? So I just plug it in. Miles per gallon equals miles divided by gallons. Clean all this up so you can look at it. Total miles per gallon. Total miles divided by gallons. And then I just solve this. Now they solve this a little differently than I would solve it. I would move this x over. Here's what I would do. Actually, I would put 45 over 1. No, that's not what I would do. I would do 45 equals 500x. I would move my x over, and when I do it becomes multiplication. And now I would move my 45 over, and when I move this over it becomes division. Oh, I don't know why I put all those zeros, which is, I guess, what they did, but I would do it a little differently. It makes more sense this way in my head. And that gives me 11.1 gallons. So if I know I'm going on a road trip, I'm going to need to set aside enough money for 11 gallons. And if gas is normally $3.50 a gallon, then I just multiply that by 350 and figure out how much I need. All right, so let's look through this, and we're going to try to figure out how much we need to set aside for gas for whichever one of these trips we're taking. So step 1 is to figure out how many gallons of gas we have needed, and we do that by dividing. Miles per gallon, 700 divided by 37. We are told what the average price per gallon is. Now that's going to be the average, right? And so my second step is to then multiply miles per gallon with how many gallons I'm going to need. And then I get the answer. So work through this, figuring out all those estimated amounts of gas we're going to need. And that's it for this one.